All right, Cyclone fans, good evening and welcome to the first edition of the Coach Shawn Witten Show for 2024 here on WBEJ, also known now as 107.9 The Bridge. I'm Stacy Street along with my partner Tony Briggs and your head coach for the Elizabethton Cyclones, Coach Shawn Witten. Coach Witten, before we talk about some specifics, tell us, our listeners, a little bit about how the fall camp's gone and how the team's looking.
Well, we got a new team. We graduated 20 seniors last year. This year we got 14. We got a lot of new faces and a lot of new numbers, and we got a lot of guys that are really young. We got a big time rising ninth grade class. About 30 freshmen are on the roster this year, and so made up a lot of sophomores, a lot of juniors. Really proud of the seniors that we do have. The guys that played a lot of good football, been around here a number of times, and been around some successful seasons and understand what it takes. But we've had a really good camp. We spent a lot of days down here in the mornings and in the evenings. We've had some pretty good tough scrimmages, had a lot of 7-on-7s. It's been good. It's just kind of ready to go. We've had some scrimmage against Westridge, a tough scrimmage against TC Roberson of Asheville, a strong Union Virginia team that we always scrimmage, and so preseason practice is been really good.
I'll ask you a question about tonight's game against the Hilltoppers. We know you start planning that always in December of the previous year, and I was thinking about this the other night when I was thinking about what to ask you about. Science Hill traditionally in the last few years has been the first game. There's always somebody when you come into the season, you kind of know who your players are and your go-to players, but in this game there's always somebody that steps up that maybe not be on the radar, but you think that may be good. It goes all the way back to Corey Russell. I remember he's on your staff now, by the way.
Right.
No better hire than that. But his first game as a freshman. I think back to Bryson Rollins and Cade Maupin, didn't know who was going to be the quarterback,
right.
And Bryson takes the reins, and then Cade has the big interception. And even last year, like Eli Blevins comes up with the big interception. Who is someone that we may not hear about, may not read in the paper, that you think may have a standout game against the Hilltoppers?
Well, I think it can come down to a kid like Bryson Rowland. Who's been a steady corner as he comes in as senior. He's going to be a two-way player for us this year. Maybe play the opposite side of dry at times. Really good defensive player. Reminds you a little bit of Jake Roberts. It's some savviness at corner. He comes back with a lot of experience there from a skill position standpoint. I think that we've got new faces at the running back position. A guy that's been out, all year last year with the torn ACL, that's back ready to go. It's just, if he can get rolling, he can take control of the game, and that's Jaybird. And just two names right there that just come to mind because, it goes back to Dave Ryder years when we've got a running back over 225 pounds. A guy like him that can, dictate the game from an offensive standpoint. You're looking for other people to step up. We've always had a go-to receiver, Parker or Jake. We've always needed a number two receiver, and I think a kid like Bryson Rowland, can be that guy for us.
Jaybird may be the biggest running back in the backfield since your grandfather took Jim Richmond off the defensive line and put him in at fullback. So thank you very much for that, Tony.
Tonight, going into tonight's game, it's the 100th game of the Elizabethton and Science Hill rivalry, drop all the way back to 1925. You've been 18 of this is your 18th year as a head coach, plus your 4th playing. It don't seem like it's been 18 years that we've been going into this. Each team is different, as you alluded to. What about this team is different than last year's team and even the 22 team?
Well, I think over the years that we've played this game, the first game of the year, we've kind of bridged that gap between us and Science Hill. I mean, I think our kids, prepare for this game. I think they're not intimidated. They're not afraid. I think that just going to having that edge against those guys, they understand that this game can dictate a lot of our season, just the confidence that we have moving forward. And then, the way that, we've been able to kind of, close the gap on these guys is, we don't fear that they're stronger, or, they got more depth, or, they got more size or more speed. I think we've done a great job of just over the years, just really, making their presence known. I think there's a thought that comes through their mind, that we're the little school over here, that, if we can put that doubt in their mind, then we've got them. So I think there's a lot of, our kids grow up playing against these guys. It's different than it was, 5 years ago to 10 years ago to even 18 years ago playing these guys. I mean, there was a time when there was a huge separator, you just had to, a lot of things had to go your way in order to win this game. I don't think it's that way anymore. I think just as much success as we've had over the last couple of years playing against these guys, I think our guys just really get up for this game, and it's all from here on out. Our guys are ready to go. And
that goes all the way down to the Pee Wee program and junior Pee Wee program, because they're constantly playing against them, and they've had success when they're young, and they get that confidence when they're young, and it just keeps building on them. Now, going back, this team, going in, people said, how you going to be, how you going to be, and the best thing I can say is, we're young. You look back at 22, coming off those three great years of run we had, we didn't know exactly what we was going to have. What did you learn from that team that you applied to this team?
Well, I think, as much as you want to try to keep some similarities and you got a system in place, I think, what we've been able to do here over the last couple of years is kind of mold our football team into, the bodies that we have, the guys that we have. And so, it may be one of the youngest teams we've had in the last, 10 years, the amount of green we're going to have on the field. But I think there's a positive to that in some ways, that we got guys that can really run. We've got some size. We've got some guys that can really provide us with some depth. We've got guys that, the multiple guys that can catch the ball. We got multiple guys in the backfield that can help us out. And I think that, we've had to go back and do some things where teaching guys two positions, offense and defense a little bit more, and get them more involved. It's given us great spirit with a lot of guys, that the fact that, a kid like Seth Campbell is going to get an opportunity to play defense for the first time, or some defensive guys coming over the offensive side. So it's just a different taste. These guys been able to, and I think a lot of them have kind of enjoyed it, an opportunity for a kid like Kyron Smalls to play defense and see what he can do. So it's just giving guys some opportunities that they may not have in the past. And then, the same thing, Tony, is just, what we've been comfortable with from one year to the next doesn't mean that's the right way to go about it. There's change in the system, or change in the scheme. There could be change in philosophy. And I think we've tried to do a great job molding to our strengths.
I've heard you say it over and over and over all season long. You never stay the same. Either you get better or you get worse. You never stay the same, complacent.
Well, I think for us, you just got to keep evolving. You keep evolving, you keep adapting, you keep trying to figure out a different way to do things. I think we've tried to, we sent our coaches out to really try to see what other people are doing that, have, big backs, or have some size, or, we got multiple guys that can catch the ball, or have multiple running backs, and then, scheme-wise, we've been a similar defensive scheme for a long period of time. And so, when certain guys graduate, you've got to do things a little bit different. And, so it's not just plug in and keep rolling the way you've done. We've just got to really adapt to, our new team's identity. I thought last year, we got off to a great start, but we never really formed a true identity. Our identity was we just had 22 seniors. We had a lot of guys that played a lot of football. We're a lot of, it's just give us your best version and we're not going to lose. If we make mistakes, we make mistakes. We got enough experience. We got enough football players that we're going to come out on top. This year's a little bit different. We have to form an identity right off the bat.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for the first half of the Coach Witten Show. We'll take a break from our sponsors. When we come back, we'll break down tonight's contest, as your Elizabethton Cyclones are at home, we've been here in a while, against the Science Hill Hilltoppers. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Coach Shawn Witten Show. Coach, Now let's get into the X's and O's. You've got Rhett coming back as quarterback. You've got Dry as one of the go-to receivers, could be one of the top 4 or 5 athletes in Northeast Tennessee. You got some new faces on the offensive side that used to flip around and play defense. Tell us, going into tonight's contest, who you could see could have a breakout game, and who is going to be one to take some of the wear and tear off of Jeriah, because when Jeriah gets doubled.
Well, I mean, I think that obviously the quarterback's best friend is the running game. Be able to rely on the running game, and then to just be able to try to slow the game down in some ways that we obviously our best friend is the clock. Our best friend is keeping the ball out of their possession. It's kind of a style of football we played a little bit in 2021. We just the better we got, the more we ran the football, the more we could control the clock. Just kind of did that. We obviously, it's going to be a long season. We're going to get better as we go. But tonight's game is just, we've got to do a good job in making sure that we can control the game. No turnovers. Things that limit the mistakes. And then I think some of the things that can really be a difference for us, Tony, is just our kicking game. We got 2 really superb kickers. Caleb's one of the stronger kids in our program. Will's pretty consistent. Had some big moments last year. I think those guys can be difference makers for us. And then field position, obviously, you talked about drive, but the ability to, he had several punt returns for touchdowns last year. The ability to get his ball in hand, trying to find other ways to score and move the ball other than just offense. But kickoff returns and punt returns can be dynamic for him and just give him more touches. And I think that those areas can really dictate this game in game number 1. I would be tough to come out tonight if our special teams doesn't really take control of the game, and then can be play big dividends for us.
And speaking of the special teams, just talking about your 2 kickers, you've said it over and over. If they're not kicking the end zone, it's going to be a bad day, because our kids they've got that ability. Yeah,
I mean, Caleb's pretty tough. He's 6'3". He's one of the stronger kids in our program as a kicker. He's got a lot of experience, and then Will is probably as pretty consistent as a kicker there is across the state. He works at it pretty good. And then, on top of that, we've got our Justin Whitehead is our holder, and Bryson Rowland and Rainwater are snappers. So we've got a lot of our special units back, and to be able to get down through there. And the thing about it is Will's already been in some tough situations from a year ago, and I think that his work ethic, through the off season, those special teams can be big for you. And then, just the opportunity that if you can get stops on defense, the ability to get your best player the ball in open space, and if our guys can take pride in that, it seems like every year, between him and Luke, we got good field position. That could be a difference for us. But I think our guys have really trying to, made a difference and trying to find, help the offense out a lot of ways. We mentioned, Eli Blevins, we forced turnovers last year. Our special teams was really good. We really worked hard on some areas to try to help us out early in the year. And when you're a young football team, you got to use that youth to your advantage. And I think that, a number of those guys can get out there and operate on special teams, can play big for us.
Final question before I turn it over to Stacey. Keep it along the special team and the kicker. When you get inside the 25, 30-yard line, the old saying is you got 3 points in your back pocket. You as a play caller, how does that go into into affecting the plays that you call?
Well, especially for tonight's game, it becomes big. Whether you want to take a couple shots or, Red's got to understand that, if we don't have it, obviously, don't want to give up sacks to get us out of field goal range. So, that could be big for us. And we've been in a number of these football games where it's been 1 point and 1 possession. And, we feel like that could be huge for us to get down there. We've had a lot of momentum changes in these games. Just, if you can finish drives on field goals and come away with points, I mean, it's, you got an opportunity to come away big, especially when our guys have that much confidence in our kicking game. And then, just those guys, I feel like Caleb and Will are pretty clutch players. And they got strong work ethics, which I think on top of that can play big for us tonight.
Even last year going DB game, Will had 2 big field goals in the first half that really set the tone for going forward.
Well, that's Cyclone football at its best, Tony. It's Cyclone pride. It's kids taking pride in their positions. I think, a kid like Justin Whitehead takes pride in being the best holder, Luke Whaley was older last year. He took pride in that. I mean, Roland learned from Zeth and those guys how to snap. We've always been, really good on those. And then over the years, just, we've learned how to, block a field goal. We've learned how to put pressure on the punts. We've learned how to get good field position if we can and get stops. So that's going to be big for us, just to be able to, field position and the more times that certain people can touch the ball, the better opportunity you have.
Let's talk a little bit in particular about Science Hill. Every year we hear the hype about they got this guy, they've got this guy, they've got speed, they finally got a quarterback there. To me, the straw that stirs Science Hill's drink is Baylor necessary. On defense, certainly, and if you get inside the 20, like Tony was talking about, he's going to be in the backfield. How do you deal with him, first of all, while he's on defense?
Well, he's a pretty good player, Stacy. I mean, I think he's the guy that makes them go for sure. I mean, through the course of the season last year, you kept reading about his name in the paper, and he was a big reason why they turned their season around from a year ago. But what scares you the most is probably him going into the backfield. He's a game changer on defense. He's always going to be around the football. They do a good job of making sure that he's got opportunities to kind of get in the backfield and get going. But his ability to run the ball, he's the heart and soul of their football team, and we realize that they want to make him have an identity in this football game. So he's tough, obviously that, but we just got to make sure that we've got eyes on him, that Red can see him, that we're going to do a better job of protecting Red, and we just don't want him to kind of change the game and make some splash plays early in this game.
Y'all did a good job about taking him out of the ball game last year, and we didn't call his name a whole lot.
We got some stops in those Wildcats last year, and then we forced a fumble, kind of down on the goal line. We thought we had some other stops, but as the season went along last year, that became a signature play for them. They had 2 scores against Anderson County the next week. Later on, I think he threw a pass out of that against Kingsport. So, it's Johnson City for sure. The difference between Johnson City this year versus the past, and I feel like they've got a number of guys that can step up. They're a little bit deeper in the running back position. Looks like they're a little bit deeper in the linebacker position. And that's kind of scary in the sense of keeping guys fresh that can run the football. And so they've got a stir of weapons this year that kind of stand out. And even though they're breaking in a little bit new quarterback, but it seems like they're hanging their hat on that running game. And when you got multiple backs, that can play big for them.
And speaking about the quarterback, there was a lot of shuffle over there last year. The guy that we saw, I don't think he took many snaps after that first game, but he kind of got his comfortable in the offense. How do you deal with him, and do you pressure him, or do you try to sit back and try to make the plays?
Well, I think they've done a great job of, they've got some tight ends. They're doing some things like more pro-style offense. I think they're doing a really good job of, he's got a number of weapons to go to. They're a little bit older in the skill position, so they got some guys on the outside that can make some plays. I think they do a great job of, they got some guys, some possession receivers also. And then, like we talked about before, but anytime you got multiple running backs, that you can stay fresh to rely on the running game. In this game, I think both teams, want to do a good job. 15 attempts is probably the number of throws you want to attempt on both sides, and just eliminate the turnovers, make sure you got high percentage throws, and I think they want to try to put him in good positions. We just got to do a good job of sprint out pass and making sure that we identify the formations and things, and so even though he's played a lot of football games, playing in this game first, it is big. Just the pressure, and just like I mentioned to Tony, there's still a thought process that we can get through their mind that, hey, we're different than when playing them other teams. There's a rivalry game right off the bat. So if we can force a turnover like we did a year ago, create some opportunities there. Obviously field position becomes different. That puts a lot of pressure on a QB in game number 1.
You won't admit this, but not only is this team no longer intimidated, and they sort of get in the head of Science Hill, I think you get in the head of Stacy Carter. I think he figures things out as the season goes along, but he can't figure you out for game number 1.
Well, I think our guys have done a great job of having great energy in this game. And I think as we mentioned, they grew up playing against these guys. They know them. And what used to be, you know, there used to be a talent separator or, you know, maybe a depth part. You know, even those years where, you know, Science Hill got the best of us, those games were a lot of close games. You know, just kept pushing, and then, you know, I think our guys just kind of, in these games like a year ago or the previous years, it's just, you know, you create opportunities, you create some plays, and then that's really what, you know, the middle mistakes or the turnovers, you know, we've been able to kind of come out on top of those. And then, you know, hopefully tonight it's just a typical Science Hill Elizabethton football game. It's you know, we've preached to our kids about 48 minutes, and you know, we realize it's a long season ahead, you know, but the opportunity to be in this game and the confidence that we can have coming out of it can be really special for our guys.
Coach Witten, as always, we thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap up our first edition of the Coach Shawn Witten Show here on 107.9 The Bridge. We're going to take this break from our sponsors. When we come back, Tony and I will have your call of the game. Going back many, many years, they call this the game. And it starts tonight here at Citizens Bank Stadium. We'll be back after these words from our sponsors.